MASH remains one of the most iconic and beloved shows in television history, blending humor and heartbreak in unforgettable ways. But while the series lives on in reruns and memories, many of the actors who made it so special have faced tragic ends. In this video, we look back at the stars of MASH who have sadly passed away, exploring their lives, their legacies, and the painful stories that unfolded after the spotlight faded. Their contributions will never be forgotten. Loretta Swit, who portrayed Major Margaret "Hot Lips" Houlihan in MASH, was 32 when she brought to life the no-nonsense, fiercely loyal head nurse whose hard exterior masked deep vulnerability. Her commanding presence and emotional depth made Margaret a fan favorite. Post-MASH, Swit struggled to find roles that matched her former acclaim, often relegated to guest appearances and voiceovers. She married actor Dennis Houlihan in 1983, but the marriage unraveled by 1995, reportedly due to conflicting career paths and Swit's growing reclusiveness. The couple had no children. Privately, Swit battled loneliness and regret over sacrificing personal happiness for career ambition. She endured a quiet feud with certain co-stars and distanced herself from the limelight after the 1990s. Her later years were spent in modest solitude, championing animal rights but rarely seen in public. Despite personal setbacks, she retained a loyal fanbase. Now 87, she lives alone in California, her estate estimated at $3 million, built largely on royalties and cautious investments. Though she never remarried or had children, she finds solace in fan letters and the enduring legacy of MASH. William Christopher, who played Father Francis Mulcahy, was 40 when he embodied the humble and steadfast chaplain whose quiet compassion became a moral anchor for the 4077th. Behind his gentle screen persona, Christopher led a life filled with unseen hardships. Married to Barbara O'Connor in 1957, the couple adopted 2 sons, one of whom, Ned, was diagnosed with autism, a condition little understood at the time. Christopher dedicated much of his post-MASH life to advocating for autistic children, often at the expense of his own mental well-being. Roles became sparse in the 1980s and he turned to community theater and voice work to stay afloat. Financial strain loomed at times, exacerbated by rising medical costs and his son's long-term care. Though his marriage endured, it was not without tensions, particularly as Barbara suffered from depression. Christopher passed away from small cell carcinoma on December 31, 2016, aged 84. Despite his struggles, he was remembered as a compassionate soul who poured himself into family and faith. His estate, valued at $1.5 million, was modest but meaningful, with a portion donated to autism advocacy groups in his memory. Kelly Nakahara, who portrayed Nurse Kelly Yamato, was just 24 when she stepped into the role that gave viewers a rare glimpse of sincere empathy and warmth amidst war's chaos. Though often underused on screen, Nakahara's subtle charisma made her a quiet icon. After MASH, she found few acting opportunities and shifted careers to become a watercolor artist, opening a small gallery in Pasadena. She married David Wallet and had 4 children, Nalani, David Jr., William, and Lonnie. Behind her cheerful public persona, Nakahara faced immense grief, losing her youngest son in a car accident in 1999 and suffering a miscarriage years prior. Her husband's battle with alcoholism strained their marriage deeply, though they never divorced. Quietly diagnosed with cancer in 2017, she kept her illness private, continuing to paint until her final days. She died on February 16, 2020 at age 72 from complications of cancer. Friends recalled her as both resilient and gentle, a presence who healed through art as much as through her acting. Her estate was estimated at $2 million, primarily from her artwork and residuals. Larry Lynville, who portrayed Major Frank Burns, was 33 when he took on the role of the neurotic, pompous surgeon whose need for control masked deep insecurity. Lynville's performance was unforgettable, grating yet oddly sympathetic. After MASH, his career stalled, typecast and dismissed by casting directors, he spiraled into obscurity. He married 5 times, each union ending in divorce, plagued by infidelity, resentment, and his own emotional volatility. He had 1 daughter, Kelly, from his first marriage, though their relationship grew distant as he drifted from city to city chasing failed pilots and second-rate theater gigs. Lynville battled chronic depression, made worse by a botched sinus surgery that impaired his speech and further isolated him. He lived in small apartments across LA, struggling financially despite MASH royalties. Diagnosed with cancer in the late 90s, he refused treatment until it was too late. He died on April 10, 2000 at age 60 from complications following surgery for cancer. His estate was modest, estimated at $500,000, much of it consumed by medical bills and legal disputes from his divorces. His life, like Frank Burns, ended with a mix of brilliance and loneliness. Wayne Rogers, who portrayed Captain Trapper John McIntyre, was 39 when he brought charm and levity to the role of the witty, hard-drinking surgeon. Off-screen, Rogers was known for his sharp mind and financial acumen, but even success could not insulate him from heartbreak. After leaving MASH over creative disputes, he found only moderate acting work but built a second career in finance, becoming a frequent TV commentator. His first marriage to Mitzi McWhorter ended in 1983, citing emotional distance. They had 2 children, Laura and William, though his demanding lifestyle strained their bond. In 1988, he married Amy Hirsch, a union more stable but childless. Privately, Rogers was haunted by feelings of abandonment. His father left when he was young, and he buried himself in work, often at the cost of emotional connection. He suffered from recurring anxiety and insomnia, especially in his later years. Wayne Rogers passed away from pneumonia on December 31, 2015 at the age of 82. Though not a Hollywood staple in his final decades, he left behind a fortune of approximately $75 million, primarily from investments, yet confessed shortly before his death that he had never truly felt at peace. Sal Viscuso, who lent his voice as the PA announcer in MASH, was just 21 years old when he began voicing the anonymous, urgent updates echoing through the 4077th. Though never seen, his calm yet authoritative tone became a signature element of the show's chaotic rhythm. After MASH, Viscuso struggled to step out of anonymity. His face remained unknown to most viewers, and despite roles in series like Soap and Falcon Crest, he was often overshadowed. He married once, to voice actress Carol Viscuso, but the union ended bitterly in divorce after 9 years due to emotional distance and conflicting schedules. They had one daughter, Emily, who reportedly became estranged from him in adulthood. Viscuso endured multiple breakdowns in the 1990s, financial hardship, and battled with depression triggered by professional rejection. His attempts to direct indie theater productions failed to gain traction. Now 72, he lives modestly in a quiet suburb outside Los Angeles, reportedly on a limited pension and residuals. Once considered a promising talent, his later years have been marked by solitude and disillusionment. His estimated net worth is around $150,000. Patricia Stevens, who played Nurse Baker, was 27 when she first stepped into the role of the diligent, soft-spoken nurse amid the blood and chaos of the Korean War. Though her appearances were brief, her character reflected quiet strength and compassion. Off-screen, Stevens aspired to lead roles but was typecast as background talent, which eroded her confidence. She married casting director Michael Robards in 1976, but the marriage dissolved after 5 years due to his infidelity and her growing dependency on prescription medication. They had one child, a son named Gregory, who later struggled with addiction and was incarcerated twice. Patricia's later life was marred by mental illness, recurring hospitalizations, and deep-seated regret over an unfulfilled career. She died on May 26, 2010, at the age of 63, from breast cancer, after spending her final years in near obscurity in a nursing facility in Reno, Nevada. Her estate, largely diminished by medical expenses and debts, was valued at less than $50,000 at the time of her passing. Alan Arbus, who portrayed Major Sidney Friedman, the compassionate psychiatrist with a piercing intellect and sardonic wit, was 55 when he joined MASH in 1973. Friedman's thoughtful presence provided moments of introspection in the middle of wartime absurdity. Before acting, Arbus had a successful photography career with his then-wife, Diane Arbus, whose suicide in 1971 left a permanent shadow over his life. Alan never fully recovered from the trauma and lived with guilt over their divorce and her mental decline. He later married actress Marie-Claire Costello, with whom he had 2 daughters, Dune and Amy, but their relationship was strained by grief and his long absences. His acting career plateaued post-MASH, and he withdrew from the public eye, declining roles and rarely appearing in interviews. Arbus died on April 15, 2013, at the age of 95, from congestive heart failure. Though admired for his rare on-screen warmth, his final years were consumed by reclusiveness and the haunting legacy of personal loss. His estate was estimated at $600,000, much of it in art and archival photography. Harry Morgan, who played Colonel Sherman Teeth Potter, was 60 when he assumed command of the 4077th with a blend of discipline, warmth, and paternal wisdom. A veteran actor, Morgan brought gravitas to the show, yet off-camera, his life was filled with turbulence. Though married to Eileen Saki for over 45 years, the relationship was fraught with emotional distance and his long-standing battle with alcoholism. They had 4 sons, Christopher, Charles, Paul, and Daniel, but Harry's career-driven absences strained their relationships. In 1996, he was arrested for spousal abuse after a domestic altercation, though charges were later dropped. Morgan never fully recovered from the shame, and his reputation quietly suffered. After MASH, he took minor roles but largely faded from prominence. He passed away on December 7, 2011, at 96, from pneumonia, having spent his final years in a retirement home in Los Angeles. Despite his dignified public persona, those closest to him remember a man haunted by guilt and emotional scars. His estate, primarily composed of property and royalties, was valued at approximately $4 million. David Ogden Styers, who portrayed Major Charles Emerson Winchester III, joined MASH in 1977 at age 34, bringing an aristocratic, often arrogant, yet ultimately vulnerable touch to the unit's surgical team. A classically trained actor, his powerful voice and refined demeanor masked deep insecurities. Though he found success with voice work for Disney films post-MASH, Styers remained a private and lonely figure. He came out as gay in 2009 after years of secrecy, having never married or fathered children. His only long-term partner, a theater director from Oregon, died tragically in a car crash in 1994, a loss from which Styers never fully recovered. Estranged from parts of his family, he retreated into work and solitude, developing chronic health issues in his final decade. Diagnosed with bladder cancer in 2017, he passed away on March 3, 2018, at the age of 75. Despite critical respect, he felt underappreciated by Hollywood and left behind a modest estate worth around $3.8 million, much of which was willed to arts organizations and LGBTQ+ charities. McClean Stevenson, who portrayed Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake in MASH, was 44 when he stepped into the role of the good-hearted yet bumbling commanding officer of the 4077th. His character brought warmth and comedic relief, making Blake's unexpected death in the series a cultural shock. After leaving MASH to pursue a solo career, Stevenson found little success. His follow-up sitcoms were critically panned, leaving him disillusioned and sidelined in Hollywood. He married Louise Herbert and had a daughter, Lindsay, but the couple divorced amid growing emotional distance. Stevenson struggled with depression and regret over his career choices, and though he remained jovial in public, close friends described him as quietly heartbroken. Health issues plagued his later years, including chronic heart problems, and he died suddenly of a heart attack on February 15, 1996, at age 68. His estate, valued at roughly $1.5 million, was modest by Hollywood standards, a reminder of a career that once soared but never quite landed where he hoped. Johnny Hamer, who played Staff Sergeant Zelmo Zale, was 54 when he began portraying the cantankerous supply sergeant known for constant bickering with Corporal Klinger. Zale was a fan favorite among supporting characters, but Hamer's own life was far from lighthearted. Married to Helen Sylvia Graff, with whom he had 3 children, Barbara, Dennis, and Mark, Hamer endured a turbulent home life, marked by financial pressures and a declining Hollywood career after MASH. He was typecast, relegated to minor TV roles, and struggled with alcoholism in the 1980s. A stroke in 1987 left him partially paralyzed, robbing him of the ability to perform. Isolated and largely forgotten by the industry he had once brightened, Hamer passed away on November 18, 1989, at 69, following complications from cancer. His estate was estimated at only $400,000, much of which went to cover medical debt, a somber end to a once lively on-screen presence. John Orchard, best remembered as Ugly John, the Australian anesthesiologist in MASH's first season, was 44 when he joined the show in 1972. His character added international flavor to the cast but was phased out quickly. Orchard's post-MASH career was sporadic, limited mostly to bit parts in British and American television. Born in Kent, England, he returned there in the 1980s after a failed marriage to stage actress Janet Pearson, with whom he had one daughter, Emily, who remained estranged for much of his life. Orchard battled severe depression, fueled by obscurity and resentment over the abrupt end to his Hollywood journey. Financial instability haunted him, especially after he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in the early 1990s. He passed away on November 3, 1995, at 66, quietly and alone in a modest flat in London. His estate was estimated at £250,000, primarily in the form of a pension and modest property, reflecting a once promising career left unfulfilled. Eileen Saki, who portrayed Rosie, the tough yet maternal owner of Rosie's Bar, was 32 when she first appeared in 1975. As the longest-running actress to play the role, she brought charisma and authenticity, yet her personal life was riddled with struggles. Born Minako Borgen, she faced racism early in her career, often denied roles due to her Japanese heritage. Saki married director Bob Borgen, but the relationship suffered due to her long absences and unrelenting work ethic. They remained childless by choice, yet Saki later admitted regretting that decision. Diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2019, she endured several painful surgeries and chemotherapy. Financially prudent, she avoided lavish Hollywood living, but loneliness permeated her later years, especially after her husband's death in 2017. She passed away on May 1, 2023, at 79, with her close friend by her side. Her estate, a mixture of savings, property, and royalties, was valued at approximately $1.2 million. Judy Frell, who brought to life Nurse Abel, a calm and caring presence among the 4077th's overworked medical staff, was 38 when she began appearing on MASH in 1976. Though often in the background, her gentle presence became quietly iconic. Off-screen, Farrell's life was a tale of heartbreak and resilience. Married to actor Mike Farrell for 2 decades, they had 2 children, Aaron and Michael Jr., before divorcing in 1983, a split that deeply wounded her. Despite being a trained writer and educator, she struggled to carve an independent identity in an industry that continually viewed her in the shadow of her ex-husband. A series of health scares in her 70s, including a mild stroke, limited her public appearances. She found solace in teaching acting at a community college and spending time with her grandchildren. Farrell died on April 2, 2023, at the age of 84 from complications following a stroke. Her estate, mostly in retirement accounts and real estate, was valued at around $900,000. Which character from MASH holds a special place in your heart? How does it make you feel knowing that some of the beloved cast members are no longer with us? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. If you've been enjoying this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching.